Hello, and welcome back to the Power Era, formerly Own Your Peace. I'm your host, Andy Thewison, and I thought it would be a really good idea to sit down and explain the why. Why change your name? We started season 2 back in March. It's kind of a weird time to change your name. What's going on? Are you having an identity crisis? Let's unpack it all and let me explain why the change. The thing that I am seeing so much with the clients that I coach, what I'm seeing on a collective level is something is happening that is very different than previous generations. If we look at the boomers and before that, when we hit our 40s and our 50s, it was time to be a grandma. It was time to not necessarily give up on life, but your prime was over. It was time to just chill. And some people did fight that and have went on to do amazing things in their 40s and beyond. But the mass majority of humans really took that as a note of retirement, of my greatest years are behind me. And what I'm seeing now is there is this shift with Gen X where it's like, no, we are not going quietly into the night. We are not going to just go out to pasture. We are changing the way that we do aging. You'll notice that a lot of Gen X's look younger than they are. They act younger than they are. There is something collectively happening with our generation, and it does tie into astrology. More than anything, we are breaking this trajectory of the women before us. If we go way back in time, any study of society, women became more powerful as they stopped their child rearing years and moved into their 40s, 50s, and beyond. And it's only within recent history where that shifted back to this nothingness that happened when we got older. And we, Gen X, we're reclaiming our crown. We're coming back to it not being a midlife crisis, it not being midlife and just bleh. We're coming back to owning our power, owning that the 40s, 50s, and beyond is actually our most impactful time frame. It is when we have the most creative genius moving within us, where we are more driven to create something with our lives. Our first 20, 30 years, we were committed to raising children, to our bodies needing energy to produce life. Whether we produce life or not, our bodies were in an energy of using that creative mode energy for that purpose. And now that our bodies are slowing down, perimenopause is hitting, menopause is hitting, we're now getting this creative energy coming back to us where we're doing something differently than the generations before us. We're using that energy to come back to power, come back to self. And we're seeing this play out on a collective level. We're seeing movies portraying women in their 40s and 50s. Heck, Jennifer Lopez is still the lead role in romantic comedies. Or are there not younger people who can play this role? No, no hate, J Lo. I mean, I think you're gorgeous and you can still play that lead role like nobody's business. But we're changing the game with aging. We're redefining what that looks like. And I'm here for it. And that is the reason why I changed the name. I changed the name from Owning Our Peace, which is so important and a lot of the work that I do. But now we're owning that piece and we're using those pieces, our astrology chart, our human design chart, our gene keys as pivot points for fully stepping into our power era. We're using these maps that have been used forever, but in new ways to understand ourselves, understand our soul mission. It's incredible to me that the more that I talk to women who are in their 40s and beyond, there's this uncomfortability that starts to eke at us as we get into our 40s. Status quo no longer feels comfortable. And the more we try to keep things as is, especially if it's in discordance to our soul's mission, there continues to be more uncomfortability. more like I just can't keep doing life the way I've been doing it. Something needs to shift within me. Something's got to give. And that heat gets accentuated the older that we get. There's always been this quote is like the universe, I made you uncomfortable because you wouldn't move otherwise. That's true. But the older we get, the more there is exclamation mark after exclamation mark after that sentence. And I'm seeing that so much in my coaching, so much in myself. Every part of me that feels seated in comfortability is up for is free game. And I'm really having to sit with, am I doing this because it's comfortable? Or because that's the way I've always done it, or that's the way that I feel like I should do things. And I'm really having to be honest with what I'm here to do and what I'm here to create. And that is really personal. It's really raw. It's really vulnerable. And I'm going to get into it. So, for most of my life, my biggest struggles have come from friendships and community. And we can blame that on Pluto in my 11th house, where I start to feel comfortable with a group of friends. I start to feel like I have space, that I'm home within a group of friends. And something happens where I am ostracized or I am shifted out of a group. It's a theme that has been reoccurring from a very young age. We can go back to the episode where the girls were talking about me and, I make good bread. And that was actually them making fun of me behind my back. But what I have learned through Pluto's magic and its wisdom is that I am here to build a powerful network where everyone has a seat at the table. I'm here not to be a part of a community. I'm here to build the community. And Pluto doesn't play the short game. It plays the long game. This is a lesson that is going to be taught over and over again until you start to feel the lesson. And the lesson for me was I had to stop hiding from community. I had to stop pretending like that wasn't what I'm here to create and stop putting my life on pause, waiting for the community to come to me. I had to put myself out there and create a space that was very specific, that was very targeted, and very much something that I knew needed to exist in the world. And that is what the Power Era Collective is. It is a space for women, elder millennials, and beyond who are not going quietly into the night, who are wanting to understand themselves, understanding why they're sitting in uncomfortability right now, why it feels like their lives are unraveling, why nothing feels like it's safe anymore, or nothing feels like it's secure anymore, because they know they're built for more. They know they're getting that calling up to a higher level. And they need a space of understanding of how do I sit with this and do something with it as opposed to just shoving it back down, sweeping it under a rug and pretending it doesn't happen. And that is the space that I have cultivated and created with the Power Era Collective. I know I've talked about it before on the show, and I will continue to talk about it because it is a space that is deeply, deeply grounded in my purpose. It's why I'm here. And it is something I'm deeply passionate about. And we've had our first month of those who were founding members. And the space that I have created and the members who have stepped up and stepped in, it is such a powerful group of women. And I'm so proud of every one of them who said yes. And what we're creating in this space is pretty dang magical. I get on the Zoom calls and the energy of these women is fascinating to me. And it's like this part of me is coming home, coming home, oof, coming home to soul recognition of this is it. this is what you're here to do. You're here to help these women understand these maps that are abstract and weird and like they resonate, but I'm not sure why. And how do I, even though it resonates, what do I do with that? How do I use that in a tactical, practical, real way? And how do I use that to create? I hate to say second act because that sounds like so ageist. I'm like, no, this is our power era. We're creating our power era. How do I use these tools to do that, to create something that is fueling me on that soul level? And that's why, if you ever hopped on the sales page and you're like, what is this software? It doesn't even make sense with what Andy's doing. It's because it's the software that helps you take what we get from your charts and uses it to then create the dream. It's got everything you could possibly need to build a business. I literally wish this software existed my entire life. It's like one of those things that you discover it and you're like, I didn't even know I was praying for this to exist, but it's here. That's how awesome this software is and how much it's been so fun to see the people I'm working with and how it's changing the game in the way that they present themselves in business, in the world, where what they're building, how they can build it. And it is so dang exciting. I'm so grateful for allowing myself to be open and being vulnerable and doing something that is so fulfilling, feels so good when I'm in this space. And also at the same time being super terrified by it and understanding that it's on that edge of terror where your biggest breakthroughs are. So if you're sitting on something right now in your own life and you're like, I know that's my next step, but it's like literally terrifying me, lean in, take the jump. And if you want a community that supports you in the jump, that's going to give you actual tangible tools in your jump, the Power Era might be a great fit for you. It's a beautiful community. I'm super excited about it. I'm excited about where it's going. But there's a lot of that energy right now. I've talked about a lot of the astrology of what's actually happening in the ethers. And there is this energy in every conversation I have where it's this almost this impatience, this feeling like you're breaking free into something new. And it's also this like anxious energy of like, I don't know what to do with all this energy, but I know I need to do something. And it's this pull and this push, and it's this forward momentum that's continually growing within us. We have some other big astrological moves that are pushing this evolution forward. And this is the time, especially if you're a Gen Xer, where we're healing that Pluto and Libra wound of people pleasing, of placating, making ourselves small, and really having balance where we're taking our power back and doing what feels right for us, not necessarily if there's space for me after everybody else. Now, I'm going to be true and honest with what my soul needs. And then I make space for everything else. Because when my plate is full, when my cup is full, then I have overflow. But if you're constantly trying to feed from an empty plate, if you're trying to constantly serve from an empty cup, there's nothing left to give. So, again, going back to the make me happy summer, this is for you to really sit with yourself. Am I truly feeling that push, that pull, that shove in some cases to step into alignment with what your soul came here to do? Because I guarantee you, every single one of us has a calling on our hearts, has a calling within us that we're here to bring forward. Some of those things are really intimidating, like really intimidating. But the more that we take the brave step, the more we trust where we're getting called to, the more magic happens in our lives. I just kind of came back to me. It's interesting typically, as I work with clients during the week, there's a theme. It's fascinating to me. Like every session, it like comes up in a different way or in a different conversation. And the theme that kept coming to me this past week with all my sessions, and it's kind of funny and it's comes from a funny place, but it landed so deeply with every person I worked with. And that is the infamous words of Vin Diesel's character in The Fast and the Furious. Stay with me on this. I live my life a quarter mile at a time. That is what everyone needed to hear this past week. Because when we have so much vision coming through us, where we see where we need to go next, I see how powerful this collective looks like. It can lead to paralysis analysis. It can lead to freezing and not taking action. But when I come back to like, I know okay, I see you. I see you, big, luminous, scary thing. Let's bring it back to this. What's the next step? What's my next quarter mile? What do I need to do right now? What feels aligned right now to move forward? And just focusing on that next quarter mile. What do I need to do right now? What do I need to do tomorrow? And then we don't worry about next week. We don't worry about next month. We don't worry about a year from now, because when we are in true presence, when we're in this sitting with the uncomfortable, with what's being called to us, we're in our bodies, we're present, we're being guided. But when we're building out timelines, a year, 2 year, three, we're not present. So we're not going to get the body guidance. We're not going to feel into our next step. None of us, not anywhere do I see a placement that's like, oh, you need to plan 10 years in advance. You need to have a plan. There are people who are more prone to planning and who like to have a plan, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is intuition. It is trusting the body's wisdom to speak to you. And yes, everybody does that in maybe a different way. And your body speaks to you in a different way. And that's one of the beautiful things that I love about human design is understanding how your body is trying to speak to you. And that is your authority, whether that be an emotional authority, a sacral authority, a splenic authority, ego authority, a G-centered authority, or a mental authority, or no authority if you're a reflector. But trusting your authority and how your body is trying to speak to you is how you learn to not future trip too much, to not worry and create those spirals. It's coming back to presence, trusting what the next quarter mile move is. Stop spinning your wheels, stop future pacing yourself. Just get back to presence, because when you're in presence and you're really rooted in the here and now moment, expressing gratitude for where you are now without stressing about what's next, but really being super grounded in the present, that is where the magic happens. That is where you get the downloads. That's where you get that's what I need to do next. That's where you get those nudges and you start to work with your body. But if you keep trying to live your life too far advanced and too practiced and too controlled, that's a big one, control. Know that one well. The more you let go, trust, be super present, and divine companionship with spirit, with God, with universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it, that is when things just work. Things just flow. You're not fighting what you're creating. The right clients just show up. The right messages land in your social media accounts. You just know what you should talk about. And that is when, again, you're in that co-creative process with source. And that is the most powerful place that we can move from. But it does take being super grounded in the body, being super open-minded to how things might play out, and not being super, this is the way it's got to work, total control mode. And just being like, okay, this is what I'd like to create. This is what I feel inspired to create. And then just trusting that your next step will guide you to your next step. And that is the power of living your life a quarter mile at a time. Thank you, Vin Diesel. And those terrible movies. Actually, I kind of like them. They're kind of fun. But the more you can keep coming back to presence and stop wooding, coulding, and shoulding yourself to death, you're going to start making real moves in your life. When I sit down with clients and they see this, they start to get it and they start to put into practice using their specific ways. It's magic. It's so powerful when we get really present and we get really open to receiving divine guidance. But it does take learning how to trust yourself again. It does mean learning how to be in your body again. And it does mean that you have to let go of control. And you have to come back to living life quarter mile at a time, living life with a universal curiosity of not having to have your hooks in a how and having to figure out like it's your job to figure out the how. The how's not your job. It is your job is to sit with this is what I want and then receive the divine guidance and then take action. Nowhere in any of that did I say you have to figure out the how. The how gets hand delivered on a silver platter when you trust, when you allow yourself to stay super present and super connected. That is how the power era was created. That's why the name changed. And if this resonated with you and you're like, you know what, I need that kind of support in my life, come join us. The collective is a great place. I received some constructive criticism. Not everybody wanted the software. So I now have the foundation tier where you get all of the awesomeness, the group coaching, all the tutorials and the tools that I put in there, just not the software. So you're getting everything except for the software. And then you move up to the build tier. And that is where you get the software and you can build whatever you want with that software. And you use the tools that we talk about within the group coaching. We have hot seat calls where I actually am talking about a particular business and we get the guidance in those group coaching sessions. And we work and we move through things. This week, we're having Black Moon Lilith, and we're going to talk about that placement and how to use that in a tactical way within our businesses. I'm really excited about that on Friday. And then I usually will have a tactical marketing or how to use the tools meeting. So there, all these tools are here to support you. And if I would like even more support and you want more one-on-one time with me to sit down with you and build what's next, then we have the Blueprint Suite. And that's where for my VIP clients, and they have an inner circle group where we have an extra chat throughout the month. So that's how that works. I will put the link in the show notes so you can find out more. As a projector, I'm not going to shove this down your throats. If you feel the call, I'd love to have you. Much love, and we'll see you next week.